Hey, we're back. We'll do a little bit of this here today and go through the last part of the PowerPoint regarding taxes and a little bit of the business side for ministers. And then we'll continue on and keep watching your modules as we go through. I know you're missing me and getting to see me, so I've included a slide where you can look at me and refer back to if you don't feel like this is very personal, and we'll see if that'll help you out as we go along. Anyway, we're going back to some of the taxes and how some of these things will help you in incredible ways. This one set of slides, the next few, can make a huge difference in how much you get to keep instead of giving away to the government in taxes. So, here we go. Housing allowance forms. There is a really fantastic deal you get, and I just want you to know that 98% of the other people in America do not get this deal. But you're going to actually get to estimate how much it costs to not only buy your house or rent your apartment, but you're going to get to take that off on your taxes. I'm going to show you how it works. You get to fill out a form before the beginning of the year, and you're going to predict how much money am I going to spend on my mortgage or my apartment rent and everything it takes to basically have a house and do ministry out of that house. You have to do this before the end of the year. Or if you are coming into a church situation, let's say in June, you will figure out a housing allowance for June through the end of December, and then you'll fill out a second housing allowance form before the next year. And you'll guess again how the next year is going to look. So be aware of that and the timing of that. You cannot sign that form after the first of the year for the coming year. So be aware of that. There it is about the coming in the middle of the year, so you know that. Obviously, the first year is the hardest one to guess ever, but hopefully you've paid attention to how much it costs to have utilities at a house here at school, and as you go along, you'll get better and better at it. When you do your first year, keep very close track of exactly how much you spend in each of the categories I'm about to show you. Here's what you can take off. First of all, start out with mortgage. That's your mortgage if you buy a house, plus your taxes and any insurance cost it takes. And I'm just going to say, for the sake of this illustration, $15,000 is what it's going to be to buy a house, taxes, insurance, and mortgage and interest for that house. So we're going to estimate I'm going to spend $15,000 over the next 12 months at that house. I'm going to guess I'm going to spend $4,500 on utilities, and that can be gas, water, electric, and if you have a landline phone, that also can be used. Cell phone, I don't believe will work on that, so most of you will not have that phone charge, but you'll spend a lot of money on gas, water, and electric. Also, you're going to guess how much money would I guess I would spend on repairs. Some things you may know we're going to have to repair this year. Other things you're going to have to think, I don't know. We'll just see. So just make a guess and do the best you can with that. Another thing is furnishings, and this number is probably low for your first year because you'll have to buy things possibly like a refrigerator or a couch or a table or a bed. Some of those things, but let's say it's 5,000, 6,000. If that's what you think you'll spend, make sure and guess a little bit high above what you think you might spend. Also, you're going to have care for your lawn. That could be even buying a lawnmower for your lawn care if you don't have one, and then gasoline and whatever else it takes to take care of your yard. And so, grand total, just figuring out very conservative estimate for the first year, $25,000 is what I'm going to guess and put on my housing allowance. I will turn that into the accountant at the church, and I'm going to keep a copy of that as well in my files. And here's how the magic works. Let me tell you about another thing, business deductions. These are expenses that cannot be reimbursed, you don't get to count them if they're reimbursed by the church. But if they are not reimbursed, then you get to deduct some things that are business charges, one of which is mileage. For every mile you drive in business, you get to take off 54 cents of deduction per mile. So if you drive 8,000 miles, it could be a whole lot of money that you're going to take off of your tax bill. What a lot of people do is they keep a mileage log for at least 3 months, and then after that they know kind of how much they're going to spend, unless it's a long trip, and then I'd keep a little log of that. If you drive, let's say you drive 5,000 business miles, that could turn into $2,700 worth of tax deductions from your income. So once again, you should not be paying any taxes. Another thing that's deductible is if the church doesn't reimburse you for you going to a sporting event, meals you'd have with kids and students, gifts for church members, and that's wedding gifts, baby gifts, anything like that. That is deductible. That's a business expense. They expect you to be at those parties and giving a gift. Just to give you an example, my wife and I spent $800 last year for wedding gifts and baby gifts. That is all deductible. Also, any office furniture or supplies you buy for your office that the church doesn't pay for, that is deductible. Also, books in ministry. If you buy a book and the church doesn't pay for that, then that also is an expense that you take off. Now, another big issue is one called Social Security. You guys, once again, are in a very special elite category as ministers. You are one of the few people that get to decide, do I want to be in Social Security or not? Now, this is a big call. Most of you have been probably told at one point Social Security is not going to be around by the time you're there, so you ought to opt out. It's probably not true exactly that it's going to disappear. There's always probably going to be some type of Social Security, but some people believe and want to get out of it, and you actually have a choice. Everyone else in America, they don't get a choice. So there's a minister's exemption form, and if you look in your packet of a case study packet, back further in the back, there is an actual tax form that talks about this. And I would want you to read exactly what it says on the form and decide if you can sign it or not. You don't sign it if you feel like it's just to get out of paying Social Security. What you're agreeing to do is you're telling everyone you do not intend for the government, and you actually object to the government giving you that coverage in life insurance, disability, and health insurance. So you're telling them, I'm going to take care of all that. I think I should do it that way, and I cannot get back into Social Security if you sign that paper. You've got to know exactly what you're replacing, and that is life, disability, and retirement. If you got, say, a disabling disease halfway through your life and you sign that paper, the government's not going to say, oh, so sorry, we're going to let you back in to Social Security. If you don't have insurance, you're up a creek without a paddle. So you're going to have a hard time with a situation like that if you don't continue to be very responsible about having life insurance, disability insurance, and take care of your retirement. Now, some of this could change in a heartbeat. If Congress decides to switch things around, they could take this away from you at some point, and they obviously would let you back in at that point. But just want you to know you got to watch and make sure you're doing things like you should. I would tell you about half of the ministers I know have opted out of Social Security. The other half are in it. And a lot of financial planners will say, unless you're extremely, extremely responsible, you should stay under Social Security. Anyway, you can research that more, talk to some of the ministers you know, and see what they say. I want to go back to retirement just a little bit. You obviously want to take advantage of any matching program, such as the church says, if you'll put in 3% into retirement, we will match that 3%. Always do that program. Don't put in 1% if they'll give you 3. If they say 5, put in 5. that is leaving money on the table when you don't match up with the church's program. Here's some markers of how much you need to have saved and get it going toward retirement, just to give you an example. By the time you're 30, half of your salary, and I'm thinking you're going to be making about $50,000 for sure by then, you ought to have $25,000 set back in retirement. In your 40s, you better have twice your salary, so we're going to be thinking you should be making more, 60, 65,000, maybe 70. You need to have about 140,000 by the time you're 40. 50, you need to have somewhere around $320,000. When you hit 60, you need to be looking at almost $750,000. And toward the end, when you're getting ready to retire, you better have about $1 million. And most of you are thinking, there's no way, we cannot do that much. Yes, you can. And you will have to if you want to retire comfortably. It'll probably be actually more than that by the time you're 65. But I just want you to be aware that's the importance of that retirement. You've got to be responsible and put that money aside. And you don't have to think, I've got to put $1 million back. You need to put it away as much as early as you can in retirement so that your money makes money. And eventually you're going to get to that $1 million. I'm going to tell you about a company. They're called Assist Financial. They're from Lubbock, Texas. And here's some contact information for you. What they do is they actually help only ministers and missionaries. They don't help other businesses, but they keep track of exactly what's going on in the world regarding ministers and missionaries. And you can call them or talk to them by email when you graduate from college and you get your first job. What they do is they will work with your chief financial officer or whatever church you go to, make sure that they're doing everything correctly. They will make sure you have your housing allowance form in place. They will also have things like life insurance that is a very affordable for ministers. And they also will have disability insurance for ministers, and they'll also have some retirement vehicles you can use. What they do with the church is they basically have the church write them one check, and then they will disperse it among all the insurance companies, disability company, health insurance. They will make sure that that is all covered and set up. And they do all that so you don't have to ever write a check or send a payment or worry about sending a payment. They do it all for you. And the greatest thing that they do, in my opinion, is they do your taxes for you. And taxes for ministers is very odd compared to everyone else. So the good old boy in your church that's an accountant who says he'll do it for you, he doesn't know everything about it, especially for ministers and taxes. And so these guys are always on top of it and know exactly what to do and how to advise you on that. Mitch Monroe is the guy who owns the company. He's been doing this for decades. I'm actually a client of his and have been, and I've recommended him to a lot of students through the years. And some have said, they'll do it on their own, and wound up in trouble because they didn't put enough back for taxes, which Mitch would have caught it if they had used them. I think they charge you now somewhere around $26 to $28 a month to do all these things and have all those insurance coverages and disability and all. They will set all that up for you and do it for you. They also do the taxes for that same price, and I think it's money well spent. And if I ever have a problem or a question, I just call them and they send me an answer, usually within 48 hours, about what I should do. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. But that's a number and a company that I would say you need to keep in your phone or in a file for when you get out. Anyway, that's probably enough for today. Thanks very much for listening in, and we'll do a few more of these during the semester. But hang in there, and we'll take it as we go. Bye bye.